Hi, this tutorial is your introduction to you writing your very first programs in Python, Python 3, using runpython.org, a website that lets you write Python programs. I would recommend, if you haven't already, taking a look at the two previous videos in the series, which sort of introduce some Python concepts using the Python console. There should be a link to the previous videos at the end of this one, and I might include one in the description below. In any case, if you have seen those, you've had some experience working with the Python console, so it's time to create some actual programs. And so far, using the console, you've typed in a Python command or statement, and you've immediately seen the result of it. And if you wanted to perform a multi-step calculation, you could type a series of Python statements, one after the other, and then use the final result. The problem is, if you want to repeat that process, then you have to type the statements in all over again, or you could copy and paste or something like that. Now, a Python program is nothing more than a set of saved Python statements in a sequence that you can execute over and over again. Now, that's glossing over a tremendous amount, but big picture, that's what a program is. It's a place where you can take these Python statements, collect them together, and execute them all at once. So to start, visit runpython.org. You should see a screen like the one you have before you with two large panes. The pane on the left is a place where you can type in Python statements, and we've got a line of Python code already there by default. The right-hand pane is where Python will show you the results of running a program. First of all, click on the line of code that's already in the left-hand pane and delete it, so we have an empty window to work with. Highlight that, press delete, and off it goes. Let's try something simple that we might remember from what we did in the console. So for example, in the left-hand pane, I'll type the number 10 and enter. Now, compared to what we did in the console, you could see right away that this is different. If we had done this on a console, Python would have replied by typing 10 back to us. It would have said, oh, you created an object, here it is. In this case, what we're typing in right now is nothing more than an editor. It's like a simple word processor. It doesn't execute any Python code at all. However, we can, by clicking the Run button at the top, we can make Python execute our code and actually do something with it. Now you remember in the console, if we type 10, it would give us 10 back. Let's see what happens if we run this code. Now that output window is moved to the left and there's absolutely nothing in it. So let's go up and click the stop button and go back and ask ourselves, well, what went wrong here? So actually nothing went wrong. It just behaves differently than the console. So when you run a Python program like this, if you have a line of code that just creates an object, Python will create that object, but it doesn't display it. And in fact, in this case, it creates the object and then almost immediately forgets all about it. If you want your program to actually display an object to the user, person running the program, then we have to do a little bit more. We could, for example, go back to our editor, go back up to this line, and modify that line so that we save that value, that number 10, to a variable. That's the way people usually talk about it, saving it to a variable. In Python, it's a little bit different. We're creating a numeric object and defining a symbol that points to that object. So we're going to say that A is assigned to point to the number 10. And if I run this, it's still not going to display anything. What we need to do next is use a function that's part of the Python language to display things. And the function is called print. And you'll notice in the editor when I type print, it's actually displays in a different color, which is significant. This is an editor that is aware of Python syntax and tries to help you write your code by coloring things differently depending on whether they're Python keywords or not. Now, print is the name of a function in Python. And functions are collections of code that do things. So print points to or refers to a collection of code that displays objects on the console. In order to execute the function, you have to follow that name with a set of parentheses. Absolutely required. Making a function execute requires parentheses. Furthermore, if you want to give that function some data to work on, which is optional depending upon the function, you have to put that information inside the parentheses. In our case, we want to give it the variable a, that number 10, so that it will display that. So inside the parentheses, we'll type the letter A. And let's try executing that, see what happens. Very different now. So in our output window, we have the number 10. That's just the same number 10 we would have seen if we had done this in the console. So again, I'll click the stop button to cease execution. One of the big ideas that sometimes folks don't quite catch on to in programming, in Python and many programming languages, you do something like this. You create a series of statements in the language in a file, like a word processor that gets saved. And you will give that file, all those statements, to a program, in this case, the Python interpreter, to evaluate and execute. And what Python does is it starts at the very top of this page, this file, this list of instructions, and it starts with the first line. It executes it or evaluates it, executes it if necessary, and then goes to the next line, evaluates and executes, and the next, working its way from top to bottom. Lines of code in Python programs are not executed sort of simultaneously, not in random order. They are evaluated from top to bottom. So what we've done so far is we've created a very short program that produces some kind of output. If we want our programs to be more interesting, we want them to be interactive. We want the people running the program to be able to provide information as the program runs. We want them to be able to provide input to the program. And in Python, you do that using a function called input. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this code. And by the way, if you want to follow along in this tutorial, there's a link to this tutorial on GitHub, and you can go there and copy and paste code snippets and bring them into this editor to execute if you don't want to type. However, I actually highly recommend that you get in the habit of typing stuff. The more you type, the more you'll learn Python. So you can't really be a programmer if all your code is copied and pasted. You really need to type it. Okay, so we're going to write a short program that does something completely different from what we've done before. Name equals input. So I'm executing a function. The function's called input. And we can, in the parentheses, remember the function would execute unless there's parentheses following it. And in the parentheses, we can provide a string. So I type a double quotes. And the editor actually gives me a second set of double quotes so that I don't have to remember to do that as a convenience. And I can type what's called a prompt. What is your name? I usually put a space after it. And the second line, I'll use that other function we've learned, print, parenthesis, quote, hi. So there's a string, hi, comma, all inside quotation marks. Now, the print function I'm calling here, again, it doesn't execute unless I put parentheses after it. And the print function allows you to give it multiple things separated by commas. And although I've got a comma inside the string, that's not actually creating multiple things. That's inside the string, and it's nothing special about that comma at all. Now, I am going to do something weird here. Plus name plus. All right, it looks like some pretty complicated code here, but actually it's not. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking three strings, hi, which is a string, plus name. Now name is a variable name. And we created that name up in the first line when we said name equals input. And that actually tells you a little bit about what the input function does. Input function will evaluate to and return a string. So in the second line, the name represents a string. And as we saw in the console tutorials, you can add strings together. So hi plus name plus a third string, which starts with a period, space, I like you, smiley face, quotation mark. So this quotation mark completes this string. We have the same type of quotation mark, beginning and end. And then finally, we have a parenthesis that matches the parenthesis that's at the beginning following the print statement. All right, there's our program. This is a point of style. Some people like to put spaces around the equal sign. There actually are formal coding guidelines for what makes well-formatted Python code. Python does not care whether you have spaces there. So let's execute the program by pressing the run button. Oh, runpython.org says, so the web browser has actually popped up this dialog and it's asking me this question. It says, what is your name? Let text, what is your name, actually came from what was passed to the input function. Whatever I type here is my response. If I click OK, it finally prints the output. So here's what it asked me first. What is your name? This is what I typed. The second line with the print function created this, hi. That was the first string. It added that to this string, Mr. Eric, which is what I typed in, and added that to the third string, period space, I like you, smiley. So, and if I stop it, we'll go back to the editor and it still shows us the output of the function or the output of the program on the right-hand side. So what the input function does is it basically stops your code from executing and requires that the user type something into that little dialog, that little window that popped up. Whatever the person types in is assigned to that variable on the left. And you can then go and use that in further statements and further lines in your program. For example, in this print function call, I created this sort of composite string using the name that the person typed in, and so produced this output, which actually looks, fairly intelligent. All right, next I'm going to try a slightly more elaborate example. It does a few more things. So I'm going to delete this. Again, if you want to follow along, you can type this, or you can copy and paste from the tutorial on GitHub. So I'm typing a new line. I'm going to assign a variable a equal to 99, the number 99. Now I've typed a hashtag character, or also called a pound sign. I'm going to write something cryptic. This is called a comment. So anytime you want to type something into your program that you don't want Python to actually execute, type the hashtag character, and Python will then ignore everything that happens to the right of that on the same line. Now I'm going to assign a string to the variable s. Now I'm going to do some kooky things in there. Curly brace, 0, curly brace, bottles on the wall. Now this is not quite the right lyrics, but whatever. So this third line, second line, that's actually line number 3 in the file, says curly brace 0, curly brace, bottles on the wall, period, curly brace 0, curly brace, bottles, take one down. Now there are only curly brace 1 bottles. So the curly brace seems kind of weird, but this is just a string. There's nothing actually special in there. Now I'm going to type the print function, and I'm going to print the string s. But not just s. If I say print s, it's going to print exactly what I've got on the line above it. I'm going to use call a function or method because it's attached to the string, attached to this object s. The function is referred to as a method, but it's a function like any other. It's called format, and it's followed with its own set of parentheses. So I have the print function with this parentheses, and inside the parentheses, I'm calling another function that's attached to variable s, and that attachment is done with a period. So s.format is calling the format function that's attached to the string. And inside those parentheses, I'm going to pass the variable a, comma. I'm passing multiple things. So there's the first thing. The second thing I'm passing is a minus 1. And you might remember from the very first tutorial how you can do arithmetic expressions. A minus 1, a is just the number 99. A minus 1 is going to be 99 minus 1, or 98. Now I'll do a equals 98, 8, 8. And I'm going to do something evil. I'm going to copy and paste that line. 97. Copy and paste that line. This is a terrible thing to do in programming. Copying and pasting is usually a bad sign, but we haven't talked about the thing that we would need to do to avoid doing that. All right, let's try running this code, see what happens. Run. 99 bottles on the wall, 99 bottles. Take one down. Now there are only 98 bottles. 98 bottles on the wall, 98 bottles. Take one down. Now there are only 97 bottles. 97 bottles on the wall, 97 bottles. Take one down. Now there are only 96. Let me stop. Go back, look at our code, think about what happened here. So this function format that's attached to the string, what it does is it goes and looks into the string, and it's looking for these curly braces. So like I said, the curly braces inside the string by themselves don't do anything, but the format function is going to go look for them. And wherever it sees a curly brace, 0 curly brace, it's going to substitute the value of the variable that's passed in first. So in this case, a. Now a was the sign that appears 99, so it's going to insert a 99 as a string into the string there. 99 bottles on the wall. 99 is another brace, 0 brace. The curly brace, 1 curly brace, is going to get the second argument that was passed into format, and that argument was a minus 1, or 98. So that's why the very first line says 99 bottles, 99 bottles. Now there are only 98 bottles. And then all we're doing in the other lines is changing the value of a to be 98 to 97 and calling the same print over and over again. And each time it's using a different value for a, and a minus 1 is being evaluated as a different value. So those are a couple of the real basic things that you need to learn how to do to accept input from the user and to display output to the user on an actual running Python program. Obviously, we've just scratched the surface here. There's a lot more to it and a lot of subtlety, but we'll wait until you actually start writing your own programs before we get into that.